The following video falls under the guidelines of fair use. Any copyrighted content will be used for the purpose of review only and will not be monetized in any way.
Hey, you want to see something cool?
Welcome everyone to Pandora's channel, the home for controlled chaos. Today is the start of a 3-part video series on my channel taking a slightly deeper look into the characters of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and their somewhat surprising fairy tale origins. This is your disclaimer now. These videos may contain spoilers for the film throughout, so if you haven't seen it yet, please go watch it. I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who enjoys animated films as much as I do. With that being said, let us start things off by taking a look at the big man himself. No, not yet. We're looking at the other big man of the film, Big Jack Horner.
What took you so long, idiot?
When he was first mentioned, it was likely that many of you, myself included, were left scratching your head wondering just who he was. Jack originated from a Mother Goose nursery rhyme written in the 1600s by the name of Little Jack Horner, which is summarized pretty perfectly by this scene here.
Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating a Horner pie. Stuck in my thumb, pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I."
From this, the film takes a slightly different direction. Jack, in the context of the film, acts as one of the primary antagonists, a power-hungry reflection on modern big businessmen, complete with a completely twisted moral compass and the desire to only keep people around if he can use them in some sort of way. Brutal, right? But how does this have anything to do with the nursery rhyme? To understand the nursery rhyme, we're going to need a little bit of background first. So, from what I found, there were two differing narratives surrounding a man named Thomas Horner, one which served as the inspiration for the Mother Goose rhyme. The first was that Horner worked as an assistant to the abbot of Glastonbury. He was afraid that King Henry VIII would tear down the local monastery after Henry separated from the Catholic Church so he could divorce his wife. The abbot, as a peace offering, sent Horner to deliver a Christmas pie to Henry VIII filled with 12 deeds to manors in the area. Horner, upon being tasked with this delivery, stuck his thumb into the pie and pulled out one of the deeds. And it's said that his descendants lived in that very manor for years to come. I know, wild, right? Well, the other Thomas Horner narrative, there was no pie. Instead, the manor had already been in the Horner family until the abbot sold the deeds to little avail, and the monastery was dismantled anyway. Horner was then sold the deeds back after the monasteries were dissolved with help from his nephew, completely axing the whole pie story. However, the majority of what is found surrounding the creation of the rhyme follows more in line with the pie story regardless of how true it may actually be. But how does this connect back to both the nursery rhyme and the film? After all, Big Jack and Thomas seem very dissimilar. However, consider the last few lines of the nursery rhyme. Hearing that under the context of the pie angle that the rhyme is based off of gives the "what a good boy am I" line a slight hint of prideful sarcasm. After all, it was likely that he knew that he was pushing against the abbot's wishes by taking the deed, and yet he was able to take pride in this act of rebellion. This is echoed in the film when we see Big Jack repeat the iconic line,
What a good boy am I.
which emphasizes that the line must have had a degree of malicious intent. And while this does seem to connect fairly well, there were still definitely some liberties taken by the writers on The Last Wish, as Jack is given his own brand new backstory complete with a vendetta against any and all magic, spurred on by the fact that it was this magic that pushed him out of relevance.
You know, I never had much as a kid. Just loving parents, and stability in a mansion, and a thriving baked goods enterprise for me to inherit.
But once I get my wish, I'll finally have the one thing that will make me happy. All of the magic in the world.
Ultimately, it seems as though the writers more so wanted to focus their efforts on building the character around the fact that the audiences would not recognize him as he's been pushed out of the public eye. As I mentioned before, this would explain why they felt the need to essentially reintroduce him to us at the beginning of the film. However, because of this, the writers were allowed much more freedom in the way that they wanted to express the character, making Jack the perfect medium to turn into a villain. While it may not extensively connect back to the Thomas Horner story in any direct way, What the writers did with Jack Horner helped to pull the rhyme from irrelevance and make the character a timely commentary on the cold and ruthless businessman, adapting what little they had to work with in a way that made a genuinely interesting villain. But those are just some of my thoughts on the character of Big Jack. Let me know some of your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, be sure to like, sub, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss part 2 of this video, where I discuss the found family of bounty hunters, Goldie and the Three Bears.